Hello, this is Rod Ovid with another Take 5. We bring these 5-minute studies to you Monday through Saturday on our Facebook page for Rod Ovid and for Logos Institute of Biblical Studies, and we've really enjoyed this ministry. We are so happy to get all the notices that we have from many of you saying how much they bless you, how much you enjoy them, how you're sharing them with others. Now I want to look at a passage today in Luke 5. Verses 12 through 14, a familiar story, but I want to look at a few idiosyncrasies here and perhaps draw a few conclusions. While Jesus was in one of the towns, a man came along who was covered with leprosy. When he saw Jesus, he fell with his face to the ground and begged him, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said, "be clean." And immediately the leprosy left him. Then Jesus ordered him, "Don't tell anyone, but go show yourself to the priest and offer the sacrifice that Moses commanded you for cleansing." And immediately the leprosy left him. Then Jesus ordered him, "Don't tell anyone, but go show yourself to the priest and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing. Do this as a testimony to them." Yet the news about him spread all the more, so that crowds of people came to hear him and to be healed of their sicknesses. But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. Now in Palestine there were two kinds of leprosy. There was one that was rather like a very bad skin disease. It was the less serious of the two, and that's not what we're talking about here. This was the serious type. This is the one that would start with a small spot and start eating away flesh, and many times leave the poor person with only a stump of a hand or a leg. It would literally be a living death. And this man needed to be changed. And he was supposed to actually be outside the camp. We know from Leviticus that they are to go around and say, "Unclean, unclean." And in many ways, the psychological impact of this disease is just about as bad as the physical. They're left isolated and alone, ostracized. No town, no family, no friends. Alone to suffer in their ailment. And we believe that this man sort of broke rank and approached Jesus, perhaps got too close. In fact, he must have gotten real close because Jesus was able to reach out and touch him. So we have him breaking the law, but then so did Jesus. It says he touched him before he even healed him, which I always find amazing. In many ways, it's a picture of what Jesus does with our sin, He who knew no sin became sin for us. I love that picture. Jesus gets his hands dirty. In the Old Testament, there is a saying that God bears his arm, and what that really means is he shows his arm, he rolls up his sleeves. God gets his hands dirty, he gets involved. And Jesus was that way. He rolled up his sleeves in his ministry. He bared his arms that he might touch us and heal us. But there's something very interesting in this passage I want us to note, and it's the last verse. We see in 15 that many heard about this, and they came out, they flooded out. They just came by thousands. And then we're told, but Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. And we read that and we say, oh, isn't that lovely? Jesus likes to get off alone with his Father, and that's true. But the thing that's unique here is that the normal New Testament word for withdrew is not the word used here. The only time in the New Testament this other word is used, it's hupokoreo. And that's what Luke uses here. And it basically says he was engaged in something else. He was inaccessible. And there are those times during his ministry that Jesus made himself a little inaccessible. Now that man came up to Jesus and he said, "If you will, you can make me clean." And that's the perfect attitude of prayer. We all should have that. But there are those times that we come up and he's not there. He is off doing something very important. It's not our time. Now, I have to be careful here. I'm not saying that God plays tricks or he's not there. But there are those times that in God's holiness and sovereignty and his knowledge and his otherness, that there are a lot of things going on, and it's not our day to be healed. It's not our day for that answer in particular. And we need to be okay with that. We need to pray, "If you will, you can make me clean." And we need to stick by that attitude. And we need to be like Paul and say, I prayed a few times, but finally God said to me, look, Paul, my grace is sufficient for you. Move on. So I don't know what you're grappling with now. I know there are those times that I have considerable angst. And we should never think that God is MIA. He's not missing. He's not busy ignoring us, but he is God. And there's a lot going on above our pay grade. And we need to do what we need to do. And that's exercise patience, love, prayer, and joy, regardless of the circumstances. That's why James said, count it all joy. You'll have more joy than not. So let's learn something from this. Let's learn that our job is to petition God. Our job is to be engaged with him, and then to wait, and to know beyond the shadow of a doubt he loves us, and he has our best in mind. We know that. And if we keep considering that in all things, we will certainly, always, have a blessed day.